I want to thank the Sisters of Mary who are with us today in a special mission appeal. There are tens of thousands of boys and girls around the world that are being educated, and education is one of the most important things that we can give people. And it's, they just do a great job, and they have a sense of, the kind of teaching that Jesus used when he was on the earth, and they live with the students, etc. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but be thinking about that and really try to help them financially, because they those things the people, so many of them are have no money in their families, and they don't. So many of them grow up without any education, so we have to really help with them. It's one of the good things that we can do. Now, I've also talked many times about, if you have a Bible, make sure you have a Catholic Bible. Okay, back in the 1300s, in the Protestant Reformation and all that, they took 7 books out of the Bible. And this is one of them that we're going to have in this first reading from Sirach. He lived about 200 years or so before Jesus. And one of the things that in this particular prophet, you could almost hear Jesus saying exactly the same thing. And it's a wonderful thing in that way. So be thinking about that. And this one of the things that in the first reading, when it says, the fruit of a tree shows the care it had, how they trimmed it, etc., etc. So too does speech disclose the bend of one's mind. We start talking, and it's kind of hard not to do this, but we can really get off the track when we start talking. And one of the things that we really have to talk about, and things like gossip and lying and stuff like that. But this started a long time ago in our lives. When we were in school, and sometimes we, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and if you're teach kindergarten kids and you ask them a question, they'll try to answer it. You get into the 4th and 5th, 6th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, the teacher asks a question, and every the students, except for 2, there's always 2, okay, all the rest of the students go, afraid to answer. Afraid to answer. And we're afraid to answer because we might give a wrong answer. And so rather than trying, we just keep our mouth shut. And that doesn't do any good at all. That just doesn't, it's just not a way to learn. But yet that's what happens so often. One of the worst fears when they do these kind of studies in groups of people, one of the worst things, and they get so afraid if they have to give a speech in front of people. Oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't talk in front of people. Well, that's really not true. There are many people who may not want to get up like in the pulpit and talk and stuff like that in a formal way, but we have many people, and many of us have no problem with gossip. Now that's talking in front of people. Nobody talks gossip to the mirror. We'd probably do better off if we did that, but it's not. And you've heard me say this over and over again about gossip. And there's an old Spanish proverb that says, whoever gossips to you will gossip of you. So if you hear that, they're talking, and I'm listening to this, and well, they're gonna talk about me, and nobody likes that. Nobody likes it, but we do it a lot. I hear it in confession over and over and over again. Now, part of the reason I think that happens is because the teacher, Jesus, in that time of history, and Jesus would teach this way. And as you remember, when Jesus sits down, whenever you're in the New Testament and Jesus sits down, that means he's going to teach. That is the position of the teacher in that time. It's not now, but then it was. That's how they would teach. But the way the teachers worked back in those days is, first of all, they would gather disciples. This is a normal thing to do. You get different people, different guys would teach, and it said that they would get some disciples, and they wouldn't just go to class. That didn't work like that. First of all, they walked with the teacher. Where the teacher went, they went. When he ate, they ate what he ate. It was like that all the time, like that. They would watch him. Did he have good manners? How did he walk? How did he? The whole person. So the teacher was teaching not just little laws or something like that, but something much more than that. The whole person. And so when we talk about Jesus, the teacher, it's not just what he said. And we tend to put teachers in the category, well, they just give information. That is not what Jesus did. He did do that. That was part of it. But that was not even the biggest part. As civilization got more complicated, et cetera, we see the rise of people just want to give information. Well, he's got this degree and this and that, and could care less about the learners. And you see that a lot of times in some of these, they have big names and big brains and things. And you have people like Darwin and Machiavelli, Freud, Rousseau, Marx. They could care less about the people. They just wanted to get an idea out. They were about the idea, about a fact. Jesus was always about the heart of a person. That's the big difference. And it is a huge business. It's a huge difference. And I think we've lost some of that. So we have that. Jesus wants to talk about the heart. And that's hard. That's hard. Because it goes much, much deeper than facts and knowledge. And, gossip is one of those things that a lot of quote-unquote teachers could care less about that. And Billy Graham once said, a real Christian is a person who can give his pet parakeet to the town gossip. And I thought, that's kind of cool, yeah. And see what would come out of the parrot that he earned. And one dad once told me his son was getting into some really bad language, And I was over at the house for dinner, and after dinner, I took Dad out in the back, and we were sitting having a beer. And I said, "Do you remember how you talked when you were trying to fix the car?" Your children heard that. See, that's the wrong kind of teaching. So what about this Lent? What about this Lent in your home? You know, what do I have to change a little bit? How can we make it a little bit different? And just think about just things like gossip, and sometimes the language that happens in your own home, the sarcasm, and telling lies and things like that happens. What about if all our families decided that this Lent, I'm going to really work on my language? Senior, it's just the way I am. Malarkey. That's the way you've grown up, and that's the way you've practiced, because practice makes permanent. Does not make perfect. There's a lot of people who perfectly repeat over and over again. No. We have to change a bit on how we actually talk. As we hear in the gospel, a good person out of the store of his goodness in his heart produces good. We have to take that. That's what that's what Jesus is teaching. It's not to get ahead. It's not to be better than somebody else. We have to measure ourselves against Jesus, not Joe or Mary, but Jesus. And thinking about that, this would be a great thing in Lent, I think, to try to do that. So be thinking about something that you might be doing in your family. So in this Lent, let's let Jesus do the teaching, not ourselves, and change our talking, our language. It would be wonderful in everybody's home. It would be really great for that. And it can be done. It can be done. Because you're going to come up here and receive the teacher himself. Speak the way Jesus spoke.